Kiss Me or I Jump White Roof Jumper's ultimatum to Black crisis negotiator starts the strangest romance. Brooke Callahan's phone buzzed for the 14th time in an hour. She ignored it, keeping her eyes on the graffiti-covered wall across from Jimmy's Diner in downtown Austin. The coffee in front of her had gone cold 30 minutes ago, but the waitress hadn't bothered her. Maybe she recognized the look of someone trying to disappear. You gonna order something or just take up space? A truck driver 2 stools down gave her a sideways glance. Brooke pushed the mug forward. Another one. Black. Her father's face stared back at her from the phone screen. The 15th call. Richard Callahan didn't handle being ignored well. CEOs rarely did. This morning's argument still echoed in her head, his voice cutting through the breakfast room of their West Lake Hills estate, like a judge delivering a sentence. You will take the position at Callahan Industries. This discussion is over. Except it wasn't a discussion. It never had been. Her college major, her internships, her summer in Europe, all carefully orchestrated moves on Richard's chessboard. At 27, Brooke had a Stanford MBA she didn't want, a corner office waiting for her that felt like a cell, and the engagement ring from Preston Whitfield sitting in her jewelry box that made her nauseous every time she saw it. The waitress refilled her coffee without asking. Through the diner's greasy window, Brooke watched regular people living regular lives. A construction worker bought a breakfast burrito. A nurse in scrubs grabbed coffee to go. An elderly couple shared a stack of pancakes, laughing about something simple. When had her life become a performance she couldn't escape? Her phone lit up again. Not her father this time. Preston. Perfect Preston with his family's oil money and political connections. Their engagement announcement was scheduled for next month at the Texas Governor's Ball. She hadn't said yes yet, but apparently her agreement wasn't required. Bad day? The waitress topped off her mug again. Bad life, Brooke muttered. The woman laughed, raspy and genuine. Honey, you're sitting in a diner with a $20 haircut and shoes that cost more than my car. Can't be that bad? Brooke looked down at her Prada flats. The woman had a point, but she was also completely wrong. Money didn't buy choices when your family name came with expectations heavier than gold bricks. Her best friend Taylor had texted earlier. Just do what they want. Life's easier that way. Easy for Taylor to say. She'd married into the right family, had the right babies, joined the right clubs. She'd stopped asking Brooke what she actually wanted around the same time she'd stopped inviting her to anything that wasn't a charity luncheon. Brooke's phone buzzed again, this time a text from her mother. Your father is very disappointed. Come home. Disappointed. That word had followed her entire existence. Disappointed she'd wanted to study marine biology instead of business. Disappointed she'd dated a jazz musician sophomore year. Disappointed she'd questioned taking over the family company. Her whole life measured in her father's disappointments. She paid for the coffee with a $50 bill, told the waitress to keep the change, and walked out into the humid Texas afternoon. Her car sat in the parking lot, a BMW her father had given her for graduating summa cum laude, like good grades deserved a $30,000 prize. Brooke didn't get in. Instead, she started walking. No destination in mind, just away. Away from the diner. Away from the car. Away from the phone that wouldn't stop buzzing in her pocket. The streets of downtown Austin pulsed with actual life. Food trucks, live music spilling from bars, people who chose to be there. Nobody here knew she was Richard Callahan's daughter. Nobody cared about the Callahan Industries empire or the social columns that tracked her family's every move. For the first time in months, maybe years, Brooke felt like she could breathe. She kept walking until the sun started setting, until her feet hurt, until she found herself standing in front of an old theater with a marquee advertising open mic night. Hello? The Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Brooke didn't go inside the theater. Instead, she found herself on a bench outside, watching strangers walk past with their simple Friday night plans. Her phone had finally stopped buzzing, replaced by an eerie silence that felt almost threatening. By now, her father would have called his security team. By morning, there'd be consequences. "You look lost." An older woman sat down beside her, shopping bags at her feet. "I don't mean directionally, I mean the other kind." Brooke turned, surprised by the directness. The woman had kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a practical bun. Working class, Brooke's mother would have assessed in seconds. "Not our circle. Just thinking," Brooke said carefully. "About running away?" The woman smiled knowingly. "I ran away once. Made it 3 states over before I realized I was carrying all my problems in my suitcase." "What did you do?" "Came back. Faced the music. But here's the thing, honey. I came back different. Sometimes you gotta leave to figure out who you are without all the noise." She patted Brooke's hand and stood. "Good luck with whatever you're running from." Brooke watched her disappear into the evening crowd. People like that woman didn't understand. She wasn't running from something she could face. She was running from an entire predetermined life, from expectations welded to her DNA, from a future that had been decided in boardrooms before she could even vote. Her mind drifted to Preston. He'd seemed perfect on paper. Handsome, educated, wealthy family. Her father had introduced them at a political fundraiser 2 years ago, orchestrating their entire relationship like a corporate merger. Preston never questioned it. He'd grown up in the same world, understood the game, accepted that marriages at their level were strategic alliances dressed up with white weddings and honeymoons in Tuscany. She'd tried to love him, really tried, but every conversation felt rehearsed. Every date felt supervised by invisible parents. Every kiss felt like signing a contract she couldn't read. "You're being dramatic," Taylor had told her last week over brunch at the country club. "Preston's a catch. Your dad's company is legendary. What else do you want?" What did she want? That was the problem. 27 years of being told what to want had erased her ability to answer that question. Art? She'd loved painting once, but her father had called it a hobby, not a career. Travel? Only the destinations that looked good on social media and came with 5-star accommodations. Friends? Everyone in her circle measured relationships by social capital and family connections. Even her charitable work felt hollow. The Callahan Foundation gave millions to causes her father chose for tax benefits and publicity. Brooke sat on the board, smiled for photos, and wondered if any of it actually helped anyone or just made wealthy people feel better about being wealthy. Her phone buzzed once. A text from her mother. "Brooke, this is childish. Your father has meetings in the morning. He needs to know you're safe." Safe? She was always safe. That was the problem. Safety meant staying in her lane, following the plan, becoming the next generation of Callahan corporate royalty. Safety meant marrying Preston, producing heirs, joining the right clubs, and slowly transforming into a carbon copy of her mother. Beautiful, polished, and completely empty inside. Brooke typed back, "I'm fine. Need space to think?" The response came immediately. "Think about what? Your father has given you everything. This ingratitude is unbecoming." Unbecoming. Another word that had haunted her childhood. Unbecoming to question. Unbecoming to complain. Unbecoming to want anything different than what was provided. Gratitude was supposed to be automatic when you grew up with money, as if privilege erased the right to personal agency. She turned off her phone completely this time. The theater's open mic had started. Voices and guitar chords drifting through the doors. Real people sharing real art, not curated performances for social approval. For a moment, Brooke considered going inside, maybe even signing up, sharing something true for once in her life. But fear held her on that bench. Fear of being recognized. Fear of disappointing her father even more. Fear of discovering she had nothing real to share after 27 years of performing someone else's life. The night air grew cooler. Brooke pulled her designer jacket tighter and wondered how long she could sit here before reality dragged her back to Westlake Hills and everything waiting there. Brooke finally went inside the theater. The space smelled like old wood and spilled beer, packed with people who'd paid $5 at the door. She found a seat in the back, grateful for the darkness and anonymity. A young guy with dreadlocks was on stage, performing spoken-word poetry about gentrification in East Austin. His words hit hard, talking about families displaced, communities destroyed, wealthy developers swooping in like colonizers. The crowd snapped their fingers in agreement. Brooke shifted uncomfortably. Her father's company had developed 3 luxury condos in East Austin last year. She'd even been to the ribbon-cutting ceremony, smiled for photos while her father talked about revitalizing the neighborhood. Nobody had mentioned the families who could no longer afford to live there. Powerful, right? A young black woman next to her leaned over. She had natural hair and wore a vintage jacket covered in pins supporting various causes. Very, Brooke agreed, though her mind was calculating defenses. Those developments created jobs, improved property values. That's what her father always said. I'm Crystal. First time here? Yeah, Brooke. She deliberately didn't offer her last name. You from Austin? Westlake area. Brooke kept it vague, but Crystal's expression shifted slightly. Westlake meant money. Everyone knew that. Nice up there? Different world from where I'm from. Crystal's tone wasn't hostile, just factual, but Brooke felt the distinction being drawn. It's just a neighborhood, Brooke said, then immediately regretted how defensive it sounded. Crystal smiled, but didn't push it. Another performer took the stage. A woman singing about working 3 jobs to keep her kids fed. The audience was fully engaged, living every word. These weren't abstract social issues discussed over wine at charity galas. These were real people's real struggles. During the intermission, Brooke went to the bathroom. The line was long, and the woman in front of her was on the phone arguing with someone about picking up extra shifts. I can't miss another one of his games, she said, exhausted. He's 9 years old and thinks I don't care. When Brooke came out, she found Crystal talking to a group near the bar. One of them was a tall black man with close-cropped hair and intense eyes. He wore simple clothes, jeans and a hoodie, but carried himself with quiet confidence. This is Marcus, Crystal introduced him. He's a crisis counselor with the city. Marcus, this is Brooke. She's from Westlake, Marcus nodded politely, but Brooke caught something in his expression. A quick assessment, maybe judgment. She'd seen that look before from people who assumed wealth meant ignorance or apathy. Crisis counselor? Brooke asked, trying to sound genuinely interested and not condescending. I work with people in emergency situations. Suicides, mental health crises, domestic situations. His voice was professional but warm, mostly in underserved communities. That must be hard, Brooke offered. It's necessary. There was weight in those 2 words, a subtle implication that people like her wouldn't understand necessity, only luxury. Someone called Marcus away, and he excused himself politely. Crystal watched Brooke watching him leave. He's good people, Crystal said. Grew up in the Runberg area, put himself through school working 2 jobs. Now he spends his days talking people off ledges, literally and figuratively. Brooke heard the subtext. Unlike you, he's earned everything he has. She wanted to argue that she'd worked hard too, that her Stanford MBA wasn't just handed to her, but she knew how it would sound. Working hard with a safety net wasn't the same as working hard with nothing beneath you. That's admirable, Brooke said, and meant it, but even to her own ears it sounded patronizing. The open mic resumed, and Brooke stayed another hour, feeling increasingly out of place. Everyone here seemed connected by shared struggles, shared communities, shared understanding of what it meant to fight for survival. She'd never fought for anything. Even her rebellion tonight was cushioned by the knowledge that she could call her father's driver anytime and be home in 20 minutes. When she finally left, Marcus was outside smoking. He nodded goodbye, and Brooke nodded back, feeling a strange sense of being seen and simultaneously invisible. He looked at her like he knew exactly what she was. Privileged, sheltered, playing at understanding lives she'd never have to live. Walking back to where she'd abandoned her BMW, Brooke realized something uncomfortable. She'd spent the entire evening feeling like an anthropologist observing another species, not like someone connecting with fellow human beings. Even her attempts at empathy had been tinged with the subtle superiority of someone who would never actually have to worry about rent or medical bills or whether her kids could afford college. The revelation didn't sit well as she drove home to Westlake Hills, where every door would be locked, and her father would be waiting up to lecture her about responsibility. 3 days later, Brooke stood on the roof of the Frost Bank Tower, 23 stories above Congress Avenue. She hadn't planned this, not really. One moment she'd been in her father's office listening to him finalize her wedding date with Preston's family, and the next she was in the elevator heading up, up, up until she ran out of floors. The rooftop was supposed to be locked, But someone had propped the door open for a smoke break. She'd slipped through before her mind caught up to her feet. Now the city sprawled below her, indifferent and beautiful. Wind whipped her hair around her face. Brooke walked to the edge, looking over the low barrier. Not high enough to be impossible to cross, just high enough to change everything. "Hey, ma'am, step back from there." Brooke turned. A security guard stood in the doorway, hand on his radio. "Don't come closer," she heard herself say. The words surprised her. Okay, I'm not moving. Just talk to me. What's your name? Does it matter?" Brooke looked back at the drop. Such a simple solution to such a complicated problem. "It matters. Everything matters." The guard's voice was shaking now. "I'm calling for help. Professional help. Please just stay right there." Minutes stretched like hours. Brooke didn't move, didn't step back, didn't step forward, just existed in the terrible limbo between choosing and being chosen for. Footsteps echoed behind her, different from the guard's panicked shuffle. These were measured, calm, purposeful. "My name's Marcus Cole. I'm a crisis counselor with Austin Fire Department. The security guard called me because you seem like you're having a really hard day." Brooke's breath caught. She turned slightly and saw him, Marcus from the open mic night. Recognition flashed in his eyes too, but he kept his expression neutral, professional. "You," she said. "Yeah, me. Small city sometimes." He moved a few feet closer, hands visible and empty. "Mind if I come a little nearer? I promise I'm not going to grab you or rush you. This is your space right now. Why do you care?" The question came out harsher than she intended. "Because you're a human being standing on a roof, and that usually means something's gone really wrong." His voice was steady, without pity or judgment. "And because whatever brought you up here, it doesn't have to end this way. You don't know anything about me." "You're right, I don't. That's why I'm asking you to tell me." Marcus leaned against the doorframe, careful to look non-threatening. "When I saw you at the theater the other night, you looked lost. Now you look desperate. That's a hard journey to make in 72 hours. Brooke laughed bitterly. "You sized me up pretty quick that night. Rich girl from Westlake, slumming it with the real people. Is that what you think I thought?" Marcus's eyebrows rose. "I thought you looked lonely. Loneliness doesn't discriminate by tax bracket." The simple honesty of it cracked something in her chest. "My father's making me marry someone I don't love. He's taking over my entire life. And everyone acts like I'm crazy for being upset because I'm so privileged, right? I should just be grateful." "Money doesn't make your feelings less real," Marcus said quietly. "Pain is pain. Feeling trapped is feeling trapped. But you said it yourself the other night. You grew up with nothing, worked for everything. What do I have to complain about?" "I never said that." Marcus took another careful step closer. "I said my work was necessary. I didn't say your struggles weren't valid. There's a difference." A laugh sob escaped Brooke's throat. "You're good at this. It's my job. But this isn't just a job right now. Brooke, I'm talking to you as one person to another. Whatever's happening in your life, whatever pressure you're under, there are other options besides this." "Like what? Go back and marry Preston? Take over my father's company? Smile through another 40 years of performing someone else's life? Like saying no, like leaving, like making choices that are actually yours, not your father's or anyone else's." Marcus's voice intensified slightly. "You want to escape? I get that. But this isn't escape. This is letting them win. They've already won. Have they? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one with all the power right now. You're the one making the choice. You can choose to step back, walk away from all of it, build something new, or you can let them drive you to this." Brooke's hands trembled on the barrier. Marcus was right. This wasn't taking control. This was the ultimate submission. "If I step back," she said, voice shaking, "you have to promise me something." "What's that?" "Kiss me." Marcus blinked, completely thrown. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. Everyone else gets to make demands of me. Now I'm making one." Brooke turned to face him fully. "Kiss me or I jump. That's the deal." For the first time, Marcus looked genuinely uncertain. "Ma'am, that's not appropriate in a crisis situation." "Then I guess this crisis is going to end badly." Brooke turned back toward the edge. Wait, okay, just why?" "Because I want one thing in my life that I chose. One moment that's mine, not scripted by my father or expected by society. One real thing before I have to face all that fake everything." Her voice broke. "Please." Marcus stood there, crisis training warring with human instincts. trying to figure out how this situation had spiraled so far from protocol. Marcus took a slow breath, running calculations that had nothing to do with textbook crisis response. This woman was serious. The edge was 6 inches from her heels. One wrong move, one wrong word, and she'd be gone. "All right," he said finally. "But first you step back from that edge. All the way back. Middle of the roof. You'll actually do it? If that's what it takes to get you to safety, yes. But I need you to step back first. That's the deal." Brooke studied him, looking for deception, then slowly moved away from the barrier. Once, twice, 3 steps until she stood in the center of the roof, trembling like a leaf. Marcus walked toward her carefully. When he reached her, he could see tears streaming down her face, mascara creating dark rivers on her cheeks. She looked young suddenly, vulnerable, nothing like the polished woman from Westlake Hills. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly. "I'm not sure about anything. That's the point." He reached up, gently wiping a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Then he leaned in and kissed her. Soft, brief, but real. When he pulled back, her eyes were closed, more tears falling. "Thank you," she whispered. "Come on, let's get you down from here." Marcus put his arm around her shoulders, guiding her toward the door. She didn't resist, just leaned into him, like her legs couldn't quite hold her weight anymore. The ride down in the elevator was silent. At ground level, EMTs were waiting with a stretcher, but Marcus waved them off. "She's stable. Just needs to talk to someone." He looked at Brooke. "Are you going to hurt yourself if I let you go?" "No." Her voice was small but certain. "No, I'm not." "Good, because I need you to promise me something now. You're going to get help. Real help. A therapist. Not a crisis counselor showing up after things get critical." Brooke nodded, exhausted. A black SUV pulled up, her father's car. He must have been called when security found her on the roof. Before she could process that, Richard Callahan was storming toward them. "Brooke Elaine Callahan, what the hell were you thinking? Do you have any idea the scandal this could create?" Marcus stepped between them instinctively. "Sir, she's been through a traumatic experience. Maybe give her some space. And who the hell are you?" Richard's face reddened. "Marcus Cole, crisis counselor with Austin Fire. Well, your services are no longer needed. I'll handle my daughter from here." But Marcus looked past him to Brooke. "Do you want to go with him?" The question hung in the air. Richard sputtered. "She's my daughter. She's coming home. She's an adult who gets to make her own choices." Marcus's voice stayed level but firm. "Ma'am, do you want to go with your father?" Brooke looked between them, her father's rage barely contained, Marcus's steady presence offering something different. For the first time in her life, someone was asking what she wanted, not telling, asking. "I'll go home," she said finally. "But I need space tonight, Dad. No lectures, no wedding planning, nothing, just space." Richard started to argue, but something in Brooke's expression stopped him. Maybe he saw how close he'd come to losing her permanently. "Fine, we'll talk tomorrow." As she walked toward the SUV, Brooke turned back. "Marcus? Yeah? Thank you. For treating me like a person instead of a problem." He nodded. "Take care of yourself, Brooke." The SUV pulled away. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, watching it disappear into Austin traffic. His supervisor, Captain Reynolds, walked over. "That was some unconventional crisis management," Reynolds said carefully. "She needed to feel in control of something, anything. By kissing her?" Marcus rubbed his face tiredly. "It wasn't... Look, I made a judgment call. She's alive. That's what matters. I'm not writing you up, but Marcus, that girl's trouble. You saw the dad. That's money and power. You don't want to get tangled up in that world." Marcus knew Reynolds was right. But as he drove home to his modest apartment in Rundberg, he couldn't stop thinking about Brooke's face in that moment before she stepped back, desperately looking for one real thing in a life full of carefully constructed lies. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "This is Brooke. Got your number from the dispatch log. I know it's weird, but thank you again. You saved my life tonight." Marcus stared at the text, knowing he should delete it, maintain professional boundaries. Instead, he typed back, "Glad you're okay. Remember, get help. Real help." Her response came immediately. "Will you help me?" And Marcus sat in his car in his apartment complex parking lot, knowing this was a line he absolutely should not cross, trying to convince himself he wouldn't text back. "Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from?" Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Marcus deleted Brooke's text without responding and tried to sleep. By 3 a.m., he gave up, staring at his ceiling and replaying the rooftop scene. The kiss, the desperate look in her eyes, the way her father had treated her like property instead of a person. His phone rang at 6:15 a.m. Dispatch. Another crisis call. We've got a situation at Balcones Canyonlands. Homeless veteran, armed, threatening to hurt himself. Need you out there ASAP. Marcus was on the road in 10 minutes. The situation took 3 hours. Patient negotiation with James Rodriguez, a 54-year-old Marine veteran who'd been living in his car for 8 months after losing his job and his family. By the time Marcus talked him into surrendering the knife and accepting transport to the VA hospital, the morning sun was blazing hot. "You got a gift, Marcus," Officer Davidson said as they watched the ambulance pull away. "Most folks would have gone tactical. You actually got through to him. He just needed someone to listen, to actually hear him instead of seeing a problem to solve." Marcus grabbed breakfast tacos from a food truck and headed to the community center in East Austin, where he ran a free counseling clinic twice a week. The waiting room was already full. Single mothers dealing with domestic violence, teenagers kicked out by their families, elderly folks struggling with isolation and depression. Marcus, thank God, his volunteer coordinator, Diana, pulled him aside. "We've got twice as many people as usual. The city cut funding for the mental health clinic on Airport Boulevard. Everyone's ending up here. We'll make it work." Marcus rolled up his sleeves. "Let me grab coffee and we'll start." He spent the next 6 hours listening to one heartbreak after another. 15-year-old Trevor, homeless after coming out to his religious parents. Ms. Washington, 68, whose Social Security couldn't cover both medication and food. Carlos, laid off from the construction job he'd held for 12 years, contemplating suicide because he couldn't face his family's disappointment. Marcus listened to every story with the same attention and respect, never checking his watch, never treating anyone like just another case number. He connected Trevor with a shelter that specialized in LGBTQ youth. He helped Ms. Washington apply for prescription assistance programs. He sat with Carlos for an hour, just talking about fatherhood and dignity, and how financial struggles didn't define a man's worth. "You want to know something funny?" Carlos said before leaving. "I got insurance through my job. They'd only cover therapy with therapists 45 minutes away. But here you are, free, treating me like I matter." "You do matter," Marcus said simply. "Never forget that." By the time he locked up at 8 p.m., Marcus was emotionally drained but satisfied. This work, helping people who fell through society's cracks, was why he'd gotten into crisis counseling. He'd been one of these people once, growing up in a neighborhood where dreams died young and opportunities were myths told by guidance counselors who didn't believe them themselves. His phone buzzed. Another text from Brooke's number. "I know you're avoiding me, I get it. But I wanted you to know I went to a therapist today. First session. It was hard, but I went. Thank you for pushing me to get help." Marcus stared at the message. He should still not engage. She was a wealthy white woman with problems he had no business trying to solve. They existed in different stratospheres. Whatever happened on that rooftop should stay there. But then he thought about her face. The genuine desperation. The way she'd just wanted one real choice in her controlled life. He thought about all the people he'd helped today who weren't so different, just trapped in circumstances they didn't choose, looking for someone to see them as human. He typed, "That's great progress. Keep going." Her response was immediate. "Can I buy you coffee? As a thank you?" "I don't think that's appropriate. Please, I don't have anyone else to talk to who isn't on my father's payroll or part of his social circle. Just coffee. 1 hour, then I'll leave you alone." Marcus knew this was a terrible idea. Crystal had already texted him twice asking about that rich girl from the open mic. Captain Reynolds had already warned him. His own instincts screamed that getting involved with Brooke Callahan would bring nothing but complications. But he also remembered James Rodriguez this morning, scared and alone, needing someone to care. Trevor this afternoon, kicked out by his family for being himself. Carlos, crying because he felt worthless. Everyone deserved someone to care, even wealthy girls from Westlake Hills who made bad decisions on rooftops. Saturday, 10 a.m., Mozart's Coffee on Lake Austin. 1 hour. Thank you, Marcus. You have no idea how much this means. Marcus hoped he wasn't making a massive mistake. But something about Brooke's situation reminded him of his own worst moments, the times when one person's kindness had meant the difference between survival and surrender. Maybe she needed that same grace. Or maybe he was just a fool about to learn an expensive lesson about crossing social boundaries that existed for good reasons. Either way, he'd find out Saturday. By Friday afternoon, Brooke's coffee invitation to Marcus was the least of her problems. Her father had arranged an emergency family meeting that included Preston, Preston's parents, and a family attorney. This rooftop incident cannot happen again, Richard Callahan announced from the head of the dining table, like a judge delivering a verdict. Brooke, you're clearly struggling with emotional instability. Dr. Hawthorne has agreed to prescribe medication. I don't need medication. I need autonomy. Brooke's voice shook but held firm. Preston reached for her hand with practiced sympathy. Sweetheart, we're just worried about you. This depression, I'm not depressed. I'm trapped. Brooke. Her mother's voice was ice. Patricia sat perfectly poised in designer clothes and disappointment. Your dramatics are unbecoming. You have everything a woman could want. Everything you think I should want. Preston's father, Congressman Whitfield, cleared his throat. With all due respect, young lady, you're acting like a spoiled child. My son is offering you a respectable marriage. Your father has built an empire for you to inherit. Most women would be grateful. Most women aren't being sold like livestock. Richard slammed his hand on the table. Enough! This behavior stops now. You will see Dr. Hawthorne. You will take the medication. You will begin wedding planning with Preston's mother. And you will stop this ridiculous rebellion before you destroy everything I've built. Everything you've built isn't mine to destroy. It was never mine. We're done discussing this. Richard stood. The wedding is scheduled for December 15th at the Four Seasons. Invitations go out next week. You will smile, you will cooperate, or I will cut you off entirely. No trust fund, no credit cards, no apartment, nothing. Let's see how long your independence lasts when you're actually struggling. Brooke felt the walls closing in. Her father had used financial threats before, but never this explicitly. She had no job. He'd made sure of that by insisting she work only at his foundation. No skills that translated to real employment. No friends who weren't entwined with her family's wealth. He'd engineered her dependence carefully over 27 years. After the meeting, Preston pulled her aside. Look, I know this isn't ideal, but Brooke, think practically. We'd have a good life together. Travel, comfort, security. What else is there? Love? Passion? Actually choosing each other? Preston looked genuinely confused. That's fairy tale stuff. Real marriage is partnership, respect, shared goals. We have all that. We have nothing. You don't even know me. I know you're the daughter of Richard Callahan and a graduate of Stanford. I know you're beautiful and well-bred. I know we'd make a formidable team politically. Brooke stared at him, realizing he genuinely believed this was enough. Preston didn't see a person when he looked at her. He saw a checklist of acceptable attributes, just like her father saw an asset to be managed. I can't do this, she whispered. Yes, you can. You're just scared. Pre-wedding jitters. My mother says they're normal. He kissed her forehead like she was a child who needed reassurance. I'll see you Sunday for the engagement photo shoot. After everyone left, Brooke found her mother in the kitchen, supervising the catering staff's cleanup. Mom, Brooke tried one last time. Please, help me. Talk to Dad. Patricia turned, and for a moment, Brooke saw something flicker in her eyes. Understanding, maybe, or memory. But it died quickly, replaced by her usual cold composure. I married your father when I was 23. Did I love him? Not at first. But I learned to. I built a good life. You will too. What about what you wanted? What I wanted was security and status. I got both. Stop romanticizing struggle, Brooke. It's beneath you. That night, Brooke sat in her room, the childhood bedroom she'd never been allowed to truly make her own, always decorated to Patricia's taste, and thought about Marcus's text, coffee tomorrow. 1 hour of talking to someone who saw her as a person, not a possession. Her phone buzzed. Taylor. Heard about the family meeting? Girl, just accept it. Life's easier when you stop fighting. Crystal from the open mic. Hey, saw you at the theater last week. We're having a poetry slam next Friday if you want to come. Real talk, real people. No pretense. And finally Marcus. Still on for tomorrow? No pressure. Just checking in. Brooke typed responses. To Taylor, nothing. They'd stopped speaking the same language years ago. To Crystal. I'll try to make it. To Marcus. Yes. I need this. She looked around her beautiful prison and started packing a bag. Small things, documents, cash, credit cards her father didn't monitor, just in case his threat about cutting her off became real, just in case she actually had to choose between his money and her soul. Mozart's coffee roasters sat on Lake Austin Boulevard, outdoor tables overlooking the water. Marcus arrived first, deliberately, choosing a visible public location. Whatever this was, it needed witnesses and boundaries. Brooke showed up 10 minutes early, wearing jeans and a simple blouse instead of designer everything. She looked younger without the armor of wealth, nervous as she approached his table. Thanks for coming, she said, sitting down. 1 hour, that was the deal. They ordered coffee. The silence stretched awkward and uncertain until their drinks arrived. So? Marcus started. How'd the therapy session go? Really? Hard. Dr. Chen, she's not one of my father's connections. I found her independently. She asked me to describe myself without using my family name or my education or any external achievements. What did you say? I couldn't. I sat there for 5 full minutes and couldn't think of a single thing about myself that wasn't tied to someone else's expectations. Brooke's hands trembled on her coffee cup. That's when I realized how bad this has gotten. Marcus nodded, not rushing to fill the silence. Crisis counseling had taught him the power of letting people sit with uncomfortable truths. She said I have to start making small choices, things that are mine alone, like what I eat for breakfast, what I do with free time, baby steps toward autonomy. That's good advice. Are you following it? I'm here, aren't I? My father doesn't know about this coffee. Neither does Preston or my mother. This is mine. She looked at him directly. Tell me about you. I want to know who you really are, not just the crisis counselor who saved my life. Marcus hesitated. Why? Because you're the first person in months, maybe years, who's treated me like an actual human being instead of a project or an asset. I want to understand that. He sipped his coffee, considering. I grew up in Rundberg. Mom was a CNA working double shifts. Dad wasn't in the picture. 3 younger siblings. We weren't homeless, but we were always one crisis away from it. What made you want to be a crisis counselor? My brother Dante. He was 15 when he tried to kill himself. Pills he'd been hoarding for months. I found him, called 911, and this counselor showed up at the hospital named Mr. Washington. Black guy, probably 60, and he talked to Dante for 3 hours. Not about the suicide attempt, just talked. About music and basketball and what Dante wanted from life when the pain wasn't so loud. Did it help? Dante's 22 now, in community college, working at Best Buy, doing good. Mr. Washington taught me that sometimes people just need someone to see them when they're invisible to everyone else. Brooke's eyes were wet. That's exactly how I feel. Invisible. Everyone sees the Callahan name, the money, the social status. Nobody sees me. I'm seeing you right now, Marcus said quietly. And what I see is someone in pain, trying to find a way out. My father threatened to cut me off financially if I don't marry Preston. Complete cutoff. I've never had a real job. Never paid rent. Never even bought groceries. I'm 27 years old, and I don't know how to survive without his money. But you're thinking about it, surviving without him. I'm terrified. What if I can't? What if I'm too weak, too useless, too spoiled? Marcus leaned forward. You stood on a roof and chose to live even when dying felt easier. That's not weak. That's brave as hell. Everything else is just logistics. Logistics? She laughed shakily. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's hard as hell. I've helped people leave abusive situations, toxic families, destructive cycles. It's never simple, but it's possible. Would you? Brooke stopped herself. Never mind. That's too much to ask. Would I what? Help me figure out how to actually leave. Not just the money part. The whole thing. How to build a life that's actually mine. Marcus sat back, knowing he was at another decision point. Getting involved with her life beyond crisis intervention was crossing professional lines, potentially ethical ones too. But he thought about Mr. Washington, about all the people who'd helped him when he had nothing. One condition, he said finally. You keep seeing Dr. Chen. This isn't me being your therapist or your savior. This is me being someone who's been through hard transitions and might have useful perspective. Agreed. And you need to know something, Brooke. Your privilege doesn't make your pain less real, but it does mean your struggle will look different from mine. You're going to have to accept that some people won't sympathize because you're starting from a higher place than where they'll ever be. I know. I deserve that skepticism. Maybe. But you also deserve a chance to become who you actually are, instead of who you were born to be. He finished his coffee. Here's your first real homework. Open a bank account your father doesn't know about. Get a P.O. box. Start building infrastructure for independence. Brooke pulled out her phone, typing notes. What else? Figure out what you're actually good at. What you'd do if money wasn't a factor. Then figure out how to monetize it or use it. They talked for another hour. Past the 1-hour agreement, into genuine conversation about fear and change and what freedom actually costs. When they finally left, Brooke looked different. Not fixed, but hopeful. Marcus drove back to his apartment, wondering what he'd just signed up for. His phone rang. Crystal. Marcus Cole. Are you seriously having coffee with that Westlake girl? Word traveled fast in Austin's small circles. It's not what you think. You sure? Because you're playing with fire, and I don't want to see you get burned. Marcus wished he could promise he wouldn't, but he was already feeling the heat. The engagement photos were scheduled for Sunday afternoon at Zilker Park. Professional photographer, staged romantic shots, wardrobe selected by Preston's mother. Brooke had agreed to it, before her coffee with Marcus, before she'd started imagining a different life. Now, standing in a white sundress that cost more than most people's monthly rent, she felt like a mannequin being positioned for someone else's vision. Brooke, smile like you're in love, the photographer instructed. Preston, hand on her waist. Good. Now look at each other. Preston complied with the mechanical precision of someone checking items off a wedding planning list. Brooke tried to smile, but her face felt frozen. Let's take 5, the photographer said, clearly sensing the lack of chemistry. Preston's phone rang immediately. Conference call about a political campaign he was advising. He walked away without a word, leaving Brooke standing alone while assistants fussed with reflectors and backgrounds. Her own phone buzzed. Marcus. How's it going? She told him about the photo shoot yesterday, and he'd listened without judgment, just acknowledged how hard it must be to perform happiness on command. She typed back. Drowning. Send help. You know you can stop this anytime? Can I, though? Before Marcus could respond, her father's car pulled into the parking lot. Richard Callahan emerged with 2 people she'd never seen before, a man in an expensive suit and a woman with a clipboard. Brooke, we need to talk. Richard's expression was granite. I'm in the middle of... Now. She followed him to a bench away from the photo crew. The 2 strangers flanked them like enforcers. This is Gerard McCarthy, our family attorney, and Susan Chen, a private investigator. Brooke's stomach dropped. You had me investigated? You've been acting erratically, disappearing, secret meetings. I needed to know what was going on. Richard nodded at Susan, who opened a tablet showing photos. Brooke and Marcus at Mozart's Coffee, time-stamped, multiple angles. Who is this man? Richard demanded. A friend. Don't lie to me. Susan did a background check. Marcus Cole, crisis counselor, grew up in Rundberg, public university education, rents a 1-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood with one of the highest crime rates in Austin. He said it like reading a criminal record. So what? He's a good person. He's nobody. And you're spending time with him, why? Some kind of rebellion? Playing social worker? I'm not playing anything. He's been kind to me when everyone else treats me like property. Richard's face reddened. Property? I've given you everything. Private schools, Ivy League education, travel, opportunities most people dream about, and this is how you repay me? By associating with... Say it, Brooke interrupted. Go ahead. Say what you really mean. The silence was loaded. Richard's jaw worked, but he stopped himself. Gerard stepped in smoothly. Ms. Callahan, your father is concerned about optics. Your engagement to Preston Whitfield is important for multiple business and political relationships. Any appearance of impropriety could be damaging. Impropriety? We had coffee. In public, where anyone could see and draw conclusions. Susan's voice was matter-of-fact. I documented 3 meetings over the past week. Coffee? A walk in the park? Lunch at a food truck on East Riverside. Brooke hadn't even noticed she was being followed. The violation felt physical, invasive, like her father had installed cameras in her soul. "You're having me stalked." "I'm protecting our family's reputation," Richard corrected, "and protecting you from making catastrophic mistakes." "The only catastrophic mistake is this engagement." The words hung in the air. Preston had returned from his call, was standing close enough to hear. His face went blank, then cold. "So that's what this is about," Preston said quietly. "You've been planning to humiliate me." "No, Preston, Save it. I knew you were difficult, but I thought you'd grow up. Clearly, I was wrong." He looked at Richard. "Sir, I think we need to reassess this arrangement." "Preston, please." Richard's tone turned placating. "She's just confused. Emotional. You know how women get." Brooke felt something snap inside her chest. Her father dismissing her feelings as hormonal irrationality. Preston treating their engagement like a business deal gone sour. Private investigators documenting her every move. The photographer and assistants pretending not to listen while witnessing her humiliation. "I'm done," she said. "Excuse me?" Richard's voice dropped to a dangerous register. "I'm done with this engagement. Done with your plans. Done being controlled. You ungrateful." "No, you don't get to do that anymore. Call me ungrateful, emotional, confused. Whatever narrative helps you sleep at night. I'm leaving. If you walk away now, you're finished. No money, no family, nothing." Brooke looked at her father and saw him clearly for the first time, not as the powerful businessman she'd feared her whole life, but as an insecure man who controlled people because he couldn't connect with them. "Then I'm finished," she said. She pulled off her engagement ring, set it on the bench between them, and started walking. Each step felt like breaking chains. Behind her, she heard her father shouting, Preston demanding she come back, assistants whispering. She kept walking until she reached the parking lot, then pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "Marcus? I did it. I actually did it. And I have nowhere to go." His response was immediate. "Give me the address. I'm coming to get you." 20 minutes later, Marcus's 10-year-old Honda pulled up. Brooke climbed in, still wearing the white sundress, carrying nothing but her phone and wallet. "You sure about this?" Marcus asked. "No, but I'm sure about what I left behind. That's enough for now." As they drove away from Zilker Park, away from her father's shouting and Preston's cold dismissal, Brooke watched her old life recede in the side mirror. Terror and relief fought for dominance in her chest. Marcus reached over, squeezed her hand once. "It's going to be hard, I know. But you're going to make it." Brooke wanted to believe him. She had to believe him, because she'd just burned every bridge to her past, and the only way forward was through the unknown. Marcus took Brooke to Crystal's apartment in East Austin. Crystal answered the door in pajamas, took one look at Brooke's tear-stained face and white sundress, and pulled her into a hug without asking questions. "Girl, you look like you've been through it." "I left everything," Brooke managed. "My family, my fiancé, everything." Crystal's eyes widened. Then she looked at Marcus. "You brought her here?" She had nowhere else to go. Crystal studied them both, then sighed. "Come in. Let's figure this out." Over the next hour, Brooke told her story. Crystal listened, occasionally interrupting with practical questions. Where would she stay? Did she have access to money? What about clothes, documents, necessities? "I have some cash," Brooke said. "Credit cards, but my father will probably cancel those by tonight. My passport and birth certificate are at the house." "We need to get those," Marcus said. "You'll need ID to open accounts, get a job, rent a place." "I can't go back there." "I'll go," Crystal offered. "I'm good at talking my way into places. You give me the security code and tell me where stuff is. I'll get it." "Why are you helping me?" Brooke asked. "You don't even know me." Crystal shrugged. "Any woman brave enough to walk away from that much money and privilege for her own sanity deserves support. Plus, Marcus vouched for you, and I trust his judgment." Usually. Over the next week, Brooke crashed on Crystal's couch and got a crash course in actual independence. Opening a bank account at a credit union her father had never heard of. Applying for jobs, retail, restaurants, anywhere that was hiring. Learning to take the bus because she'd left her BMW behind. Buying clothes at Target instead of Nordstrom. Every day was humbling. She bombed her first 3 job interviews because she had no real work history. She got lost on the bus system twice. She burned macaroni and cheese trying to cook for herself. She cried in Crystal's bathroom When she realized her father had indeed canceled her credit cards and her phone, Marcus loaned her an old phone until she could get on a prepaid plan. But she also felt something she'd never experienced before: pride. Small accomplishments became victories. Getting hired as a barista at a local coffee shop, successfully navigating the bus route, making edible pasta. Each tiny success proved she could survive without the Callahan name and money. Marcus checked in daily, careful to maintain boundaries, but always available when she needed advice. He took her to the library, showed her free resources for job hunting and financial planning. He introduced her to people in his network who needed administrative help, tutoring, anything she might be qualified for. "You're good at this," Brooke said one evening. They were at the community center where Marcus ran his counseling clinic, and she'd volunteered to help with intake forms. "Good at what?" "Seeing potential in people, believing in them before they believe in themselves." Marcus smiled. "That's the job. Everyone's got potential. Most people just need someone to hold space while they figure out how to access it." A woman approached, older, black, wearing scrubs. "Marcus, I'm Diane Cole, your mother." Brooke looked between them. Marcus's expression shifted to something complicated, love mixed with old pain. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Heard through the grapevine you've been helping some girl from Westlake Hills. Wanted to meet her." Diane's eyes found Brooke, assessing. "You're the one causing all the gossip." "I'm not trying to cause anything, ma'am." "Relax, child. I'm not here to judge." Diane sat down, patted the chair next to her. "My son's got a big heart, sometimes too big. I just want to make sure he's not being taken advantage of." "Mom," Marcus warned. "Hush, I'm talking to the girl." Diane looked at Brooke directly. "You running from something or running toward something? There's a difference." Brooke thought about it carefully. "Both. Running from control and toward myself, I guess. Who I am without my father's expectations." "That's honest. Good." Diane nodded. "Marcus told me you left a rich fiancé and a trust fund. That takes guts or stupidity. Which is it?" "Probably both." Diane laughed, and Brooke heard where Marcus got his warmth. "All right. You seem decent enough. But hear me, my son's career matters. If you being around him causes problems, you step back. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Marcus, walk me out." After they left, Brooke sat alone in the community center, surrounded by flyers for free clinics and job training programs and addiction support groups. This was Marcus's world, helping people who society had written off, offering dignity where institutions offered judgment. She wanted to be part of this world, not as a tourist, not as charity work, but as someone who genuinely contributed. For the first time in her life, she had a goal that came from inside herself instead of outside expectations. When Marcus came back, she was smiling. "Your mom's intense. She's protective, lost a lot in her life, doesn't want to see me lose anything. I won't let that happen," Brooke said. "I promise. Whatever this is between us, I won't let it hurt you." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "What is this between us?" "I don't know yet, but I want to find out." He reached for her hand, and Brooke felt the touch like electricity. Real connection. Unchoreographed, unplanned, just two people choosing each other without contracts or expectations. "Me too," Marcus said quietly. "But we do this right. No rushing. No drama. Just honest." "Honest," Brooke agreed. "I can do honest. Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world. So don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. 3 months later, Brooke barely recognized her own life. She worked morning shifts at Common Grounds Coffee, took evening classes in social work at Austin Community College, and volunteered at Marcus's community center on weekends. Her hands were calloused from washing dishes, her feet hurt from standing all day, and she'd never been happier. The Callahan Foundation's annual gala was tonight. Brooke only knew because Crystal had shown her the social media posts. Her father and stepmother posing on the red carpet, Preston with a new fiancé already. The caption read, "Supporting mental health initiatives across Texas." The irony wasn't lost on Brooke, her father funding mental health programs while having driven his own daughter to a rooftop. "You good?" Marcus asked. They were at her apartment, a tiny studio she shared with another woman from the coffee shop, but it was hers. Yeah, just thinking about what I would have been doing tonight if I'd stayed, wearing uncomfortable shoes and faking smiles. Exactly. She smiled at him. They'd been officially together for 6 weeks now, taking things slow, building something real. Marcus, I want to do something. What's that? The gala. They're streaming it live. I want to make a statement. Brooke, you sure? Once you go public, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. People need to know what really goes on behind those perfect facades. How much pressure, control, and manipulation exists in those worlds. Crystal came over to help. They set up a camera, and Brooke wrote notes for what she wanted to say. At 8 p.m., just as the gala speeches were beginning, she went live on social media. Hi, my name is Brooke Callahan. Some of you know that name because my father owns Callahan Industries. Some of you saw my engagement announcement a few months ago. She took a breath. Tonight, my father is hosting a gala supposedly supporting mental health, but I need to tell you what really happened in my life, because silence protects abusers and control disguised as love. She told her story. Not all of it, but enough. The forced engagement, the threats, the way her father had used money and power to dictate every aspect of her life, the rooftop, the crisis counselor who'd shown her kindness, the choice to walk away. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm privileged in ways most people will never be. But privilege doesn't erase psychological abuse. Money doesn't make control okay. And mental health support rings hollow when it comes from people who weaponize their power against their own family members. Comments started flooding in. Support, criticism, shock, anger. Brooke ignored them and kept talking. To anyone out there in a similar situation, trapped by family expectations, by wealth, by the pressure to maintain appearances, you are not alone. You are not ungrateful for wanting autonomy. You are not weak for struggling, and leaving is possible, even when it feels impossible. She ended the video, and immediately her phone exploded. Texts, calls, notifications. Her father calling from unknown numbers. Preston's family threatening legal action. But also, messages from strangers saying thank you, sharing their own stories, expressing solidarity. Marcus pulled her close. You okay? I'm terrified, but also free. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Within hours, the video went viral. News outlets picked it up. Reporters started calling, wanting interviews. The Callahan family's PR team went into damage control mode, issuing statements about Brooke's ongoing mental health struggles and their concern for her well-being. But Brooke had expected that. She'd documented everything. Texts from her father threatening her, emails detailing the forced engagement, witness statements from people who'd seen her struggles. Crystal helped her compile it all and send it to several journalists. The next day, a longer story ran in the Austin Chronicle with the headline, The Cost of Perfection. One woman's escape from Austin's elite. Her father tried one last time, showing up at her apartment building. Building security called, and Brooke came down to face him in the lobby with Marcus and Crystal beside her. You've destroyed everything, Richard said, his face aged 10 years in 3 months. Our reputation, our business relationships, everything I built. No, Dad. I just told the truth. If the truth destroyed your reputation, maybe the reputation was built on lies. After everything I gave you, you gave me things. You never gave me choice. There's a difference. You're making a mistake you'll regret. Maybe, but it'll be my mistake to make. That's the point. Richard looked at Marcus with pure hatred. You did this. Poisoned her against her own family. No, sir, Marcus said calmly. I just gave her space to make her own decisions. Something you never did. Richard left, and Brooke knew that was probably the last time she'd see him for a long while, maybe forever. The thought hurt less than she'd expected. Crystal squeezed her shoulder. You did good, girl. We did good, Brooke corrected. None of this would have happened without both of you. That night, Brooke's video had over 2 million views. Her story had started conversations about wealth, control, and mental health in privileged communities. Some people called her brave. Some called her entitled. Some called her a liar, seeking attention. But Brooke didn't need everyone to understand. She just needed to keep moving forward, building a life that was authentically hers, even if it was smaller and harder and less comfortable than what she'd left behind. because uncomfortable truth was better than comfortable lies, and freedom, even with its struggles, was better than luxurious captivity. 6 months after the viral video, Brooke sat in Marcus's car outside the cemetery where her biological mother was buried. She hadn't visited in years. Patricia had discouraged it, calling it dwelling on the past. "You want me to come with you?" Marcus asked. "No, this is something I need to do alone, but thank you." She walked through the gates to Catherine Hartley Callahan's grave. Fresh flowers were already there. Brooke knelt down, touched the headstone. "Hi, Mom. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back." She sat in the grass, not caring about the morning dew. "I finally did it. I got out. I know you probably would have wanted me to make peace with Dad, find some compromise, but I couldn't. He wouldn't let me be myself, and I just couldn't breathe anymore." The wind rustled through the oak trees. Brooke imagined her mother listening. "I'm working as a barista, can you believe it? Me, who couldn't even make toast without help. I'm taking classes in social work. I want to help people like me, people trapped in situations that look perfect from the outside but are breaking them inside. Marcus thinks I'd be good at it. He's the crisis counselor I told you about in my last letter. We're together now. Really together. Not arranged or strategic, just real." She traced her mother's name on the stone. "I think you would have liked him. He's nothing like Dad's world. He's kind, genuinely kind. He sees people, really sees them. He saw me when I was invisible to everyone else." Tears came, not sad ones exactly, just releasing years of held breath. "I'm happy, Mom. For the first time maybe ever, I'm actually happy. Not comfortable or secure or approved of, but happy. I hope wherever you are, you're proud of me." She stayed another hour, talking about her new life, her plans, the person she was becoming. When she finally left, she felt lighter, like she'd set down a weight she'd been carrying since childhood. Marcus was waiting in the car, scrolling through his phone. When she got in, he showed her a news article. "Callahan Industries announces new mental health initiative following daughter's allegations." "Your father's trying to save face," Marcus said. "Let him. If it actually helps people, then something good came from all this." They drove to the community center where Brooke was leading her first support group for young adults leaving controlling family situations. 8 people had signed up, all struggling with similar guilt, fear, and questions about whether they were making the right choice. Before she went in, Marcus stopped her. "You know what? You're doing is important, right? You're using your experience to help others. That's powerful. I'm just talking to people. No, you're giving them permission to choose themselves. That's huge." The group session went well. Brooke shared her story, and others shared theirs. A young man whose immigrant parents had planned his entire life. A woman whose religious family had disowned her for being gay. A guy whose father's business success had become an unbearable burden of expectation. Different stories, same theme. The struggle for autonomy against overwhelming pressure to conform. After the session, a young woman approached Brooke. "Thank you. I've been planning to leave my family's expectations for 2 years but couldn't find the courage. Hearing you say it's okay to choose yourself, that helped." Brooke hugged her. "It's more than okay. It's necessary." That evening, Brooke and Marcus walked along Lady Bird Lake, watching the sunset paint the water orange and gold. Brooke's phone had 50 unread messages from people who'd found her through the viral video, all sharing their own stories of escape and transformation. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Leaving all that money and comfort?" Brooke thought about it honestly. "Sometimes I miss the security, the ease, not having to worry about rent or whether I can afford groceries. But then I remember the cost of that security, my soul, my choices, my authentic self, and no, I don't regret it." "What about your family? Think you'll ever reconcile?" "Maybe, if they can accept who I actually am instead of who they wanted me to be. But I'm not holding my breath." She squeezed his hand. "I have a new family now. Crystal, your mom, the people at the community center, you. Family isn't just blood. It's choosing people who see you and love you anyway." Marcus pulled her close. "I do, you know. Love you. I know. I love you too." They stood there as the sun disappeared below the horizon. 2 people from completely different worlds who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances. Brooke's journey wasn't over. She still had years of therapy ahead, financial struggles, complicated emotions about her father, and the ongoing work of building a life from scratch. But she was free, genuinely, authentically free. And that freedom, with all its challenges and uncertainties, was worth more than any trust fund or social status could ever be. She thought about that girl on the rooftop 6 months ago, desperate and trapped and ready to jump. That girl had asked Marcus to kiss her, seeking one moment of authentic choice. Now, Brooke had built an entire life of authentic choices. The ultimatum that had started as desperation, kiss me or I jump, had become something beautiful. Not because of the kiss itself, but because it had been the first time she'd demanded what she wanted instead of accepting what was given, and that small act of defiance had changed everything.